everybody. Welcome back to the Earthborne Games podcast. I'm your host, Anders Carlson. I'm back. It feels like it's been months and months, but I think it's only been 1 month, right?
Yeah, I think it's been... You just missed an episode.
But don't you feel like life has just felt extra packed lately?
Well, a lot has happened.
A lot has happened. We don't talk about that on here.
No.
This is
We haven't had the crew back together for a few episodes. Andrew was traveling the one before that, so it's been a little while since we had the five of us on.
Yeah,
yes, that's true.
Chub Frog and Andrew did not overlap, did you? It was just me and...
That is correct.
The Chub Frog episode. So I haven't seen Andrew in forever. Here we are, the whole band back together. It's funny because you guys are a band all the time, and I'm just the one guy who pops in now and then.
Yeah, you're like the front man who doesn't come to practice, just shows up for the gigs.
For the podcast, anyway. Anyway, let's introduce everybody because we've all forgotten the titles of you all. We're here with Evan Simonet, my playdate partner.
Yeah, that's right. We got together with the kids over the weekend. Was it Saturday? Yeah.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
Rainy day, so we went to a weird little coffee shop.
Yeah.
It's like
it was
designed...
a coffee shop that has like not a daycare, but like a play area for kids. So
cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Like a bunch of parents just bring their kids there and drink coffee, and we did the same, and our daughters played and had fun with each other, and it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Was
there
awesome.
A ball pit there?
No, there isn't, but there is a ball pit at the Maplewood Mall in Maplewood.
Nice.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. We've been there.
Remember when we were kids, ball pits were just full of guns and rocks.
not any ball pit I ever played in.
What?
Not like that anymore.
I'm so confused.
Kids these days have gone soft.
Yeah, I know.
I stole that from Clickhole. Sorry, guys. Stole it from Clickhole. No, this coffee shop, in theory it sounds great, but it has a very strange vibe. It's like it feels like a converted modern office building. Like it just feels like you're in someone's office, and like the toys are not very good. It's just kind of like IKEA toys and a couple coloring books. Okay. But it's also packed with.
Were you guys in Roseville?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, this is
because there's like a new coffee shop there that like moved into an old gym.
That was wild. That was super wild. It was enormous and packed.
Yeah, it's like in where the pool used to be in this gym. They like covered up the pool and put a coffee shop in it.
I love it. I think it's a pretty cool reimagining of that space, having gone to that gym many times myself.
Did you have a work meeting there or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Andrew's description of this other coffee shop sounds like that Willy Wonka experience. The really like jank Willy Wonka thing that went viral, except in coffee shop form, where it's just
I don't know about this. I don't know about.
Oh, you never saw that? Oh, no. It was. I mean, just Google like Willy Wonka AI experience thing. It's kind of like a little mini fire festival type, like doomed event, cursed event.
Were there people just clamoring for a new Willy Wonka experience, or what? Like, where did that come from?
It's really unclear why this thing came about. They like coordinated this thing and like invited. This is like, I don't know, maybe earlier this year, and invited like advertised it to children, parents of children, and stuff. And then they showed up, and like it was incredibly low rent, and they have these like two really poor, depressed-looking actors dressed as Oompa Loompa.
Oh,
this is the most saddest Oompa Loompas you've ever seen.
Classic
Oompa
Loompas.
Classic Oompa Loompas, and they invented some new villain called like I don't remember, was it like the darkness or something.
Yeah,
and it's just the creepiest like person in this like black robe, and it's like going to terrify the children.
Evan, did you say the character's name was Dr. Candy?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
No, I just I made an educated
It's
guess.
about that level of like creativity, though.
Yeah.
So very high.
Extremely. Yeah.
I've really brought us off track from introducing the five.
A little bit.
So that was Andrew Fisher, and now let's move down
Andrew
to
Fisher.
well, we did our banter, and then I
You
introduced you.
skipped.
And Maxine Newman's here, and Andrew Navarro's here. Okay, we're all introduced.
Hello.
We've
Hey.
been bantering.
We did it.
It's great to be back. Anyway, where were we? Shitty.
Well, Andres, I'm going to need you to skip directly to things we're into so that I can spend the entire hour and 40 minutes talking about UFO 50.
Why didn't you text me?
I should text you. I'm not all the way done yet, but I'll message you some thoughts. I'm sure we'll talk later, but
Okay, we'll
gotta
talk
leave
later.
room for Evan's books.
Good.
Sebastian's been playing UFO 50, and it looks awesome.
Ooh, I love the
It looks
idea
awesome.
of a person who didn't grow up in that era.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear about a.
All right, that's what stuff we're into is going to be later. That's all I've played. So perfect. Should we dive right into the show? Banter done.
Check. Bantered.
Did it.
I'm back, baby. All right, work stories. We're into the work story section. And let's go to Maxine. Hi, hello. Good to see you again.
Hello. Good to see you too.
What have you been doing lately? I have no idea what you guys have been doing. I feel like I don't know you anymore.
I am working on several unannounced products simultaneously. I am spinning plates all over.
That's a cool skill to have.
Yeah. We are pretty much wrapping on the first edition of the Elder's Book of Uncommon Wisdom. So we will be posting that sometime soonish. I think we decided after PAX.
Does everybody
once fulfillment gets going, because I just feel that anything we post Rangers related between now and fulfillment that isn't, hey, here's the fulfillment schedule and fulfillment has begun, will just make people say, hey, when is fulfillment starting? So
Yeah.
it won't be that long before we make that public. But
Yeah.
So if you're antsy to know more about it, Maxine and I teased at least 2 cards? Did we put 2 cards in the playcast, Maxine?
2 cards, I think, yeah.
Okay. So you can see 2 of our tweaked cards in Maxine's deck. In the
One
playcast.
of which is everyone's favorite role. So
What is that,
But yeah.
though? Does everybody know what that is except me?
it is essentially a list of optional rebalanced cards. Some of them have been nerfed, some of them have been buffed, some of them have just been tweaked a little bit. Some of them are, well, at least one of them is pretty different. That you can optionally choose to use in your game to kind of enhance your deck building experience and to help smooth out some of the metagame. So that's what that is.
Cool. Sounds like it's going to be something physical to buy, or
it'll be an optional download. So you can go on the website and you'll be able to download a PDF, and then you can print them out and cut them and sleeve them.
Super cool.
Yeah, or just remember what they do because they're pretty simple.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Evan.
Yeah. Well, I have one final piece of art to get done for the demo deck, the Eidolon demo deck. And it's the due date Fisher gave me is tomorrow, so I have one day to do it. But I have done that before in the past, so I'm confident that I can get one piece of card art done in a day.
Is that from start to finish? From now until tomorrow?
Pretty close. There's some sketching. There's a Rob who hasn't been on the show yet, but he's a newly acquired art director with us.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be helping with the majority of Eidolon. He provided a sketch, so I'm going to be working off that. And I had a bit of free time this week since I was wrapping up the work that I had done and was kind of waiting on the sketch to come my way. So I had been working on potential packaging concepts for Eidolon that I've been just puzzling over and thinking about. and I got pretty inspired by something over last weekend. So I started working on something, and it's kind of informed the card frames as well. And I do want to put out there, I don't know if this has been mentioned, but the demo deck card frames, the graphic design of the demo deck is not final. I just don't want people to have that impression. It's just
we'll do everything we can to make sure that people
please
know that what we're showing in the game found is not final.
Because I feel like even Corey was like reminding me that it's not final. I'm like, I know, Corey, it's not final. As if like I'm
Don't
gonna
worry,
just try
Evan,
to sneak that past.
Don't worry, Evan. I've got little placards that say "Absolutely final cards. Send all complaints to eSubnet."
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Awesome. Andrew Fisher, what have you been doing?
Oh yeah, well, along with Evan barreling forward on art, we've been doing a lot of different prep for PAX Unplugged in just a couple weeks now. I guess like 3 weeks really, but I kind of mentally block off that whole week for the show. But the big, obviously we're going to be demoing Rangers there, and we're going to be demoing Rangers with some of the new expansion content in it as well. But the big one is going to be kind of debuting Eidolon. So we've been working. In addition to working with Corey and Michael, Jeremy Zwern has been helping us out, and we've been kind of working as a team to do last-minute audits and checks and testing on the Eidolon card pool to make sure we're feeling ready and prepared to show off the game at PAX. So it's been a lot of like different tweaks and trying different things just to kind of iron out our last-minute things. And we've got a demo deck that I'm feeling really good about. It's kind of a all-round experience that gives you a good sense of the broad scope of the game. So I'm excited for people to see it.
Yeah, it's a variation of the deck that I brought down with me to up with me to Team Covenant and showed them. Just realizing most of that was done behind the scenes, but we did look at the cards on stream, a few of them. So if anyone watched that or is interested in seeing kind of a little preview of what that demo deck is, you can go check out that video.
And remember that the graphic design is not final.
Yes.
All
Including the
complaints to
icons.
eSubnet.
Everything on it is not every aspect of those cards is not final. Like we reserve the right to change literally everything about them.
Yeah, much like for those of you who have followed us since the Rangers vertical slice, you can see the spirit of what Rangers would become in the vertical slice, but we did a bunch of work past that. That being said, I do think, at least game design wise, Eidolon is much more solidified than Rangers was at that same stage.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Andrew Navarro, tell us about production.
Yep. I've been in production land. It is a very challenging thing for me as someone who likes to control things because it is an aspect of the process that is completely out of my control. I think that is the thing that I struggle with the most, is that games just stop being printed somewhere and hopefully it's all going good. There's really nothing I can do about it. So I just gotta just be cool with that. And that's hard. It's a hard part of the process, I think.
Didn't you go check it out?
We were there for one day and we saw 3 things come off the press and then just did the color check on them. But that is like such a small sampling. Then, that does not include obviously like building the boxes, gluing them, wrapping them, the assembly, all that stuff. We just need to wait for that. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we should start seeing some finished, fully assembled stuff, because we do have a short order in for several things that we're hoping to bring to PAX Unplugged with us. And right now, that's the thing that I care about the most, because I would going to that show without anything would be disappointing. but obviously I have no control over whether or not that'll be done. And then, and then going into fulfillment next month, it's all dependent on, the manufacturing being done and done well and on time. And if everything goes as it should, then we'll get going next month with fulfillment, which is exciting. But I can't go and make the games myself. I guess we could do that, but we'd make very few copies.
Every copy handmade by Andrew Navarro.
That's
Navarro.
right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Get even more.
I still like that as like a one-off stretch goal. Like everything's made by hand. That'd be pretty awesome, and it just costs like $10,000. And then in addition to that, I've been working with Ludeffect on getting the European production going, and that's going to start here in a few weeks. We have the order in for the materials. We just have some details to settle on the box. The box we had quoted with them was a little bit smaller than the box we ended up making at Delano, so we're going to retool it at Ludo so all the box sizes match. We just need that die line. As soon as we have that, we'll be able to get going with that production. So it's exciting. There's a lot happening.
Yeah. Not your
There's
favorite.
a lot happening. I'm doing a lot of sitting around and waiting. It's both things simultaneously.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've been able to participate in everyone else's work as well, and that's been a relief. That I like.
Breathing down everyone's neck.
Yeah, that's what I do. No,
You almost done? No, you're a collaborator.
How's it going
That's
over
why-
there?
That's why we keep him down
I'm
in Costa
bored.
Rica.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, keep them down there. All right. Well, thanks everyone for updating us. We have part 4 in our favorite book series, right?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
Everyone but
think so.
Andrew Navarro has gone so far. And
Well,
tonight
Evan.
is right. I was going to just say it. And tonight we've got Evan. I'm not going to say it. Evan's turn to share his top 5 most influential Goosebumps books. He told us.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that. He
Well,
decided to put a little twist on it.
yeah, that's right. I'm going to start with the first one. Welcome to Dead House.
Oh, that's the first.
No, I'm kidding. I think that's what it's called. I can't remember.
What is your most memorable Goosebumps book while we're on the subject? Or is it in the actual?
I think it was called Attack of the Mutant, and it was about because the cover had like a superhero looking guy on it. I thought that was really cool. Don't remember the story though. I was mainly drawn to the covers.
I assume it involves a
Same.
mutant who attacked.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
You could go that far
Yeah.
without reading it or
The
remembering
mutant
it.
to attack.
Yeah, I was looking at your guys' discussion about Goosebumps books and the Discord, and I totally missed Goosebumps because I was too old.
Yeah.
But we did sell Goosebumps books when I worked in bookstores. They were very, very popular.
Mhm.
Having to sort all those, there's so many books and like put them up
Oh,
on
yeah.
displays and stuff.
About 20.
that's a lot.
About 20 when those came out. 20-year-old
I
guy.
don't know. There were a lot of them.
There were.
Mm-hmm.
Very popular.
Mhm.
I liked how the words were bumpy
They were-
on the front.
Yeah. It was,
Yeah.
I
it
can
was
still
lost.
feel it. Mhm.
Yeah.
I liked the choose your own adventure ones.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those
yeah.
are fun.
I did have at least I had like 1 or 2 of those.
Choose your own.
Joey, that's right. That's a callback, isn't it?
I thought it was called Choose Your Own. The
Yeah,
Choose Your, like it was
when
like
you were
like the
a
name
little
of the
kid.
company or something. Choose Your Own Adventure.
Nice.
Choose your own.
Yeah, it's Choose Your Own.
Uh-huh.
It's the Adventures of Choose Your Own. All right, but Evan has some real books. I hope.
Yeah.
Some real works of literature.
Well,
maybe
I
like
I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
It's a very eclectic list, and I don't feel like these 5 books will ever appear on a list.
So were
Ever.
you? What were you thinking when you chose the books? Were you thinking
Yeah,
just?
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking like books that helped kind of cultivate my own personality and interests. Beyond like them being just like genuinely good books. Like they're not all of them are good books, but they were meaningful to me at a certain time in my life. And you know, a good amount of them have been the reason for my professional trajectory. So yeah, I can start with the zaniest one, which is number 5. It's called Past Lives, Future Lives by Bruce Goldberg, Dr. Bruce Goldberg.
Oh yeah. You talked about this before.
Yeah, it's so I feel like I have to explain right away.
I hear a cat. I hear a cat. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
What?
my cat. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Just everybody know that's the cat. Okay, go on. Sorry.
That's some reincarnated soul from, you know, a previous life.
As Bruce Goldberg.
Yeah, it's Bruce Goldberg himself. No, so I have a great uncle who served in the Navy during the Korean War, and he talked about how he saw lights in the sky flying around, and he thought because of the way they moved that they could only be UFOs or whatever they're called now. And I always looked up to him. He is an awesome guy. So naturally, like, I kind of absorbed some of his interests, and he also listened to Coast to Coast AM, which is a late night AM radio station formerly hosted by the great Art Bell, and now is like hosted by a collection of different, you know, people like George Norrie and stuff. And anyways, Coast to Coast AM is like from midnight to 4 a.m. They talk about the paranormal, like ghosts and UFOs and aliens, and he would record episodes on cassette tape, and then he'd share them with me, and I'd listen to them on my tape player. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know, the sound of the airwaves coming through on a cassette and hearing live callers, even though it wasn't live at the time I was listening to it, was pretty cool. And I was young and impressionable, so right away the paranormal like kind of latched onto me. I didn't really seek it out. It just kind of like, you know, was delivered to me. And like this book, my great uncle gave me this book, Past Lives, Future Lives, and it's like a small little thing and book. And I think if I remember correctly, Bruce Goldberg is a doctor who, I think at a time when hypnotherapy was really popular, he would do like these regressions to try to deal with, you know, childhood trauma and stuff. And then he was like, okay, so you're 5 years old. Why don't you go back a little bit more? Okay, you're 3. Go back a little bit more. And he's just like, you know, see how far back you can go in this trance. And then all of a sudden the person was like, oh my gosh, I'm flying a fighter jet or something. And they're describing the death of a person in a different life. And I was just blown away by all of it because I was a Catholic kid. My parents weren't like practicing Catholics, but I went to a Catholic elementary school, and reading this book felt taboo. I was like, oh my God, this is weird. So like that was very influential to me because it kind of just set me on this weird path of like coming into contact with people with, you know, cool and interesting supernatural stories. And I've always thought about it, but I think the coolest thing, I know not a lot of people think reincarnation is a fun thing to think about. And can't even say I really believe it. Because I feel like for me to believe something, I have to experience something first. But in a world where reincarnation is real and people can, and if this regression therapy actually reveals past lives, and I guess apparently future lives, I forgot about that part, then think about like the incredible amount of like empathy we could all have if that was real, because we were all different people at once with different worldviews and experiences. So whether or not I believe it, I just think it's kind of a cool thing to think about. And I'm kind of glad that I like read that book because, you know, I can't really say too many good things about Catholicism and at the moment at this stage of my life, even though that was my roots. So yeah.
You're a
interesting book.
You're a Goldbergian now.
A what?
A Goldbergian? Is that a religion?
Goldbergian.
What I told I won't. It's a mean joke. I won't. I made a mean joke when Anders shared a picture of Bruce Goldberg with me.
He looks like a quack, but I like the sounds of this book. I want to read it.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Well, there's no Wikipedia page on it, so that'll give you an idea of how popular it is.
Yeah, the reincarnation thing is, like I'm kind of naturally a skeptical person, but then you see like there's like this kid I was watching videos of him play. He's 11 years old. His name's like Jude Kofi. And he plays the piano, and like he just picked up the piano in just a couple years, and like he plays it like this jazz piano unbelievably. And then you even hear him talk, and he talks like some like cackles and like laughs like some old soul, right? Like, and like you watch him playing the piano and cackling like this, and you're just like, okay, like how do you explain this except that like his reincarnation glitched out and his personality is like seeping through?
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. But unfortunately, the counter to that is there's people that are just like, I was Cleopatra. I swear to God, I was Cleopatra at one point. And
everybody was a famous person.
Yeah, exactly. When like
what are the odds?
More than likely, you had a mundane existence countless times.
But it's always tied to piano when it breaks through and it glitches out. Like, have you heard of people who get like bonked in the head and then suddenly they just like can play
piano?
Mastery over like a language or an art of some type.
How does that happen?
Man, I got bonked in the head, and all I got was headaches and vertigo.
I know. I always think about that. Like, man, maybe I can just get hit in the head and something really cool happens. But
yeah, maybe we get struck by lightning. You get lucky enough.
Anyways, book 4 on my list it's actually a series of books, and I just chose the first one. It's called The Book of Three, and the series is The Chronicles of Prydain, which is like a fantasy series by an American author named Lloyd Alexander. It's from the 60s. Yeah, and I chose that series instead of Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit because that was my entry point into fantasy.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's mine too. That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my mom used to take me to there's 2 places that my mom consistently took me to. It was like open houses to look at houses because I think she just liked doing that, and I was too young to be left alone. And then she would take me to the library, and when I wasn't reading like the current issue of Mad magazine that they had available, I would just be like perusing random aisles, and one day I found the Book of Three, and I was drawn to the art, the book art, cover art.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember like the details, and I honestly think I only read the first 3 books, and I think there's 5. But I think the author was really inspired by Welsh mythology and worked a lot of those themes into his storytelling. And the book is just your classic like orphan kid who becomes he's got a mundane upbringing but is flung into adventure. And I think one of the things I really was drawn to was how magic was portrayed. There is a character named Gwydion who was like, he's like a fighter or a warrior, but at some point he is being pursued by these monsters, and he weaves like a net of grass and then throws it, and the net of grass like turns into this thick webbing that ensnares all of these creatures. And I'm just like, how did he know to do that? That's amazing. It's cool. It's a secret, like, I don't know, like it's beyond bushcraft. Anyways, so there's a lot of cool magical themes in it that I was drawn to. The characters were really colorful. There was a enemy called the Horned King, and he was a dude with a skull mask with antlers and like crimson armor and a cape, and he was just really cool.
Yeah, that cover illustration with him on it is awesome.
Yeah, is that the one you're talking about? It's like he's got like a red outline, that skull guy.
It's like a red outfit.
Yeah,
that one.
He's got his sword up.
Yeah, I think I remember that. I don't think I had that edition, but I've seen it.
That's really cool.
Andrew, did you pronounce Eilonwy's name correctly when you first read it? Because
God, I doubt it. I read it when I was like 8, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah. I just said Ellenway in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
When I finally learned the pronunciation. I was just blown away.
Yeah, I tried to get my boys to read that. So we actually have 2 copies of the Book of Three at our house, just sitting there. So I've read it a little bit again from the beginning, and it's got a fortune telling pig.
Yep.
Which is pretty exciting. Yep.
Not what I was
Penguin.
expecting.
That's cute.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, the main character Taran, he's a pig keeper or assistant pig keeper. He's not even a pig keeper. He's an assistant. But the
Assistant
pig is
pig
like
keeper.
Assistant to the pig keeper.
Yeah, you
Yep.
beat me. Beat me to it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's pretty cool. They made a really bad Disney movie.
Yeah.
Based on it called The Black Cauldron.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's based on that. Okay.
The Black Cauldron is based on this?
Oh,
Oh, my
it's based
goodness.
on the second book, which is I think it's based on more than the second
It's kind
book.
of based on the whole
Horned
thing.
King. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
The Black Cauldron is like the coolest name of all the books.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember like being really excited when that movie came out, and even the young me at the time was like, "This stinks."
Womp womp. Yeah.
Having never read this book series, The Black Cauldron is one of my favorite Disney movies.
Oh,
so I'm
great.
gonna have to read this book series.
It's
It's
very
better.
much for little kids.
Yeah, it
it's,
is, yeah.
yeah, it's a kid's book for sure.
I
Not even
reread-
young adults. It's
That's
for
not
poor
gonna stop
kids.
me.
I reread it about 10 years ago. Over 10 years ago, I briefly worked as a laborer for St. Paul schools, and they were just like liquidating all these books from their schools' libraries over the summer. And so I got my hands on all these like old, copies of fantasy books from my youth. So I got to reread them, and I was like, wow, these are for kids. Definitely.
You would have called it a chapter book when you read it back then.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say something else about it. Other than the cool stuff that stuck out to me as a kid, I think it's memorable for me just because it kind of catapulted me into fantasy and swords and sorcery and stuff, and eventually like Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So,
That's cool.
I can't really it's not a deep story. It's just a fun.
Yeah, I don't really remember it at all. At all.
Yeah,
I remember there's a giant cat.
that's in
That's
like
it.
Fortune telling pig.
third book, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Taran eventually becomes the king. I think that's the
Spoilers.
name of the last
Yeah.
book. I think it's like Taran King or something.
there's
Is that
Tarn Wanderer.
Yeah, I think the
that's-
last one's Taran King, but I could
Okay.
be wrong.
Yeah. Anyways, if Maxine, if I can find my copies, they're somewhere. I tried to find all the books I'm talking about so I could hold them up, but they're boxed up somewhere. But if I can find them and you want them, I'll gladly hand them over.
Sure.
But I
The
do.
High King. Sorry, the High
Oh,
King.
the High
is
King.
Yes.
I do actually have. I can show off a book for my third pick, which is The Art of Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Awesome.
So I had this shortly after the game came out in like 1999 or 2000, I can't remember, and I took it with me to art school where I eventually met Anders, and it was kind of like my anchor for like what I truly wanted to do when everyone else at art school was doing like highbrow, like I just felt like I didn't have
conceptual art.
yeah
Or what's the word? Yeah.
abstract art. I was terrible at
Mhm.
abstract art. And like, not to say like what the other students were doing wasn't meaningful. It just wasn't as important to me, and I just was constantly struggling with trying to trick myself into being like a fine artist when I just wanted to be in like make cool stuff, which is what I'm doing now. So, anyways, this is, I'm sure everyone's familiar with like art books for games. It just has a lot of concept art for characters. I wasn't necessarily drawn to the character design because they just like were out of proportion in a weird way that bugged me because it didn't translate well to like 3D polygonal models at that era or in that time period. But what I really was drawn to was the architectural stuff, the environments. I'm trying to find like
I'm
example.
watching somebody page through it on YouTube right now, and
Yeah.
the architectural drawings are rad.
Yeah, they're just so visually dense.
Yeah, they got all these sketch,
cool.
it's like line work.
I just every time I look at it, I just can't believe the level of detail, and I'm so impressed by it. So I've always tried to hone my skills in a way that was similar to the artist who created these environments. And I'll just look through it every once in a while, and so yeah, it just, like I said, it was kind of like, it kind of just kept me anchored throughout school and reminded me of what I wanted to do.
What's funny, Evan, is I own so many video game art books. Because I used to work for GameStop, and when things got pennied out, I would just take them. I would just go home with them.
Nice.
And so I own so many video game art books, but I don't own that one.
Oh, really?
And it's probably one of the few Final Fantasy ones I don't own, because I definitely have like the art of Final Fantasy 12, and 11 had an art book as well, I think. I don't know if there's one for 10, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I had, this is the only one I had, if you can believe it, even though I'm kind of a fanatic.
Me and you are both big Yoshitaka Amano fans.
Yeah. I follow him on Instagram, and that was almost going to replace this book. I have this Amano book. I can't remember if it's just called The Art of Yoshitaka Amano or what, but it's very different stylistically to the stuff in here, but also very cool and very inspirational to me.
Awesome. I was also looking at the video that probably Fisher was looking at. What I love about those art books, especially for games from an earlier generation, is just they've got these beautiful, concept art, all these different angles on these characters, and then they end up being this like little goofy sprite.
Yeah.
I know.
But it's cool though, because if that's like on the key art or something, it totally informs like how you think of that little sprightly guy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
Okay.
Number 2.
Number 2 is another weird one. It's a Mark Twain book, but when I read it, I was blown away because it didn't seem like a Mark Twain book to me. It's actually a short story. It's called The Mysterious Stranger. And the setting and the themes are so wildly different, because I'll admit, like, I have only really read like Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, and I think that's it. And this one, The Mysterious Stranger, it takes place in Austria in 1590, and it follows 3 boys, their experiences in that small town. And one day, this slightly older like boy appears in town, and he says that he's an angel, and his name's Satan, and that he's not the Satan. His uncle is Satan, but he's just named after him. But he's like, I can perform these miracles, and I can see the future. I'll really gloss over the story because I don't really remember it. But to prove his point, he was the villagers wanted him to prove his point, so he told the future. That he told these dire predictions for what would happen to these townsfolk, and 2 of those townsfolk happened to be the main character's friends, and they got close to this character Satan because they wanted to try to change their fate. And I don't really remember what happened with that, but as these 3 boys got to know this character, he took them on a weird journey around the earth to show them all the plight and misadventures of man, and like kind of mocked man for their greed and mistakes, and then ended up mocking God and for making these faulty, fallible people. And then the story just unravels from there, and it ends in a really weird way that is now like, if anyone read it now, they would just be like, oh, it's one of those. But at the time when I read it, I was blown away, because it's like, it's like your kind of twist ending, I suppose, that's been kind of played over and over. It's kind of like, that sort of thing is just kind of ubiquitous in media. So
Solid
anyways,
dream.
but when I read it, it was pretty wild, and I just mainly because I didn't expect that from Twain, and also like I had an exposure to that sort of type of ending before to a story.
That's cool. I want to read that.
Yeah, and
That sounds cool.
I have it around here somewhere, but I'm sure you can find it on Amazon for cheap or something. But
I have I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to quickly say, if you wanted like a rundown, there's like there's a claymation movie or no video. It's like a 5-minute video. Just look up the Mysterious Stranger claymation or something on YouTube, and it's like it kind of distills down the themes of the story in a really weird way. I think it was like a Mark Twain kids show, but it's very dark. I don't know if this is the only episode or segment of an episode that was dark, but anyways, it's worth watching. It's only like 5 minutes, I think.
Cool. Yeah, I have I like you had like going into college, I had very just based on like Huck Finn, just preconceived notions about what Mark Twain's writing was like, and then in classes being exposed to his other writings was really awesome. So I still have one of my books from those classes. It's like a Mark Twain collection of short stories and other writing. So I wonder if that one's actually in there.
It could be.
But sometimes I just crack it open and read. I usually read his journalistic stuff, which is fascinating because it's just this window into his time and his opinions on things. And whenever I read it, I go, well, nothing's changed, which is actually kind of comforting. But yeah, the thing that kind of got me hooked on Twain at the time was this essay called "The Awful German Language." I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's it's a hilarious roast of German that is also very self-aware because it in turn kind of roasts English at the same time. But it was very funny.
Well, I kind of almost think that the reason I read this book is because of Star Trek TNG, the Time's Arrow, or whatever.
I love
Mark
that episode.
Twain is in that episode. Or
love it.
It's a 2-part.
It is.
Yeah,
it was a finale.
Yeah, it was great. I love how like devious and feisty they portray Mark Twain as, and the actor who played him was great.
Yeah.
Is this a Q episode?
No, it's a time travel episode.
It's a time travel episode. Okay,
yeah.
It's the one where they find Data's head. And they're like, "Oh my god, they found Data's head." What?
It was unearthed from the past. Yeah.
Yes.
They found his head. Yeah.
Kind of like when they found the DeLorean in the mine in Back to the Future 3. Something like that.
Evan, I want to add that claymation of the Mysterious Stranger was made by the most famous person who ever graduated from our college, our art school. Will Vinton. Will Vinton, he did the California Raisins.
I had no idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish you could say we're plugging our school, but it doesn't exist anymore. Crazy.
They're regretting it shutting it down, I'm sure.
I know. Yeah, and then finally my number one is actually another series, but I just chose the best book out of the series. The series is the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. And I think without a doubt, anyone who's read it can agree that book 4, Wizard and Glass, is the best entry in those 7 books. And just quickly an overview, the reason I was drawn to the Dark Tower is I've always been a Stephen King fan, but I realized that in a time before like Marvel's MCU and expanded universe stuff that's being like slowly killed and overdone, there was the Stephen King multiverse, and the Dark Tower series is kind of at the crux of it all, and the main character Roland, who is searching for the Dark Tower, ends up traversing through many of the other realities, like the reality of The Stand or the Superflu book. I think there's a lot of references to It, or the greater lore and mythology of It, and all sorts of other. There's a character from Salem's Lot, the priest, who disappears at the end of Salem's Lot, and then he ends up becoming a crucial character in the Dark Tower series. Anyways, I was fascinated by all that because I had read all of his books and almost all of his books, and then got to see a lot of these characters continue on. And in book 4, the reason why I like it so much is because it's its own concise story that's kind of exists without needing to rely on the lore of the Dark Tower and what they're doing, because it's just a story within a story, and it's about the main character Roland's upbringing in his childhood and what led him to become who he is and why he's going after the Dark Tower, which is another reason why I was really drawn to this book, because one of my favorite aspects of King's storytelling is when he does a story within a story, because it's always a really cozy experience. I've always felt like I'm listening to this main character's story being told alongside the other main characters who are listening. And he does it in almost every single book. There's always like this I don't know, like scholarly, wise, older person who's, this is what it was like in Salem's Lot 20 years ago, and there's always a really rich story that's someone can tell in his stories. So anyways, Wizarding Glass is it's a, like I said, it's it's Roland's upbringing. It's what led him to discover what the Dark Tower is, which is like this thing at the center of all existences, and I honestly can't really remember why he wants to get there. But,
sounds like a place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this, he didn't. In the majority of Wizarding Glass, he's a kid who doesn't know about the Dark Tower, and he just became a gunslinger at the age of 14. And the gunslinger is like the weird Stephen King post-apocalyptic future fantasy equivalent of a knight. And he gets given his first quest, and he goes to this little parochial, far-flung town with his 2 buddies who are also, I actually don't think they're gunslingers because they don't have guns. But they uncover, like, they're there pretending to count, sheep and livestock for the kingdom and report back with numbers. But in reality, they're investigating like an uprising that threatens the kingdom, and they encounter this cool like gang of outlaws called the Big Coffin Hunters, and he falls in love, and there's tragedy, and he eventually discovers this magical orb, Wizarding Glass, the Wizard's Glass, that allows him to see the future, and he sees all the tragedies of his future, and he sees the Dark Tower and his hopeless quest for it. And by the end of the story within a story, the characters he's currently traveling with are left questioning why they're even going with him, because he basically just revealed to them that he brings misery upon himself, and everyone around him dies. And anyway, the story is, you can read Wizarding Glass without having to read the rest of the books. And the whole series itself is kind of hard to get into because the first one, The Gunslinger, was one of his earliest works, and it's pretty linear and slow.
And weird.
And weird, yeah. It's
very weird.
Yeah. But all of them are super weird, and
yeah,
I'm just like super drawn to the way he invents these mechanics for his universes colliding, and the rituals these characters create to kind of go out of bounds or travel between worlds. And he always does this great thing where he sometimes characters have like what's called a mental palace, where they have like a world inside their mind that helps them retain information. I think it's been portrayed it's like a trope that's been portrayed in other media.
Yeah, like Sherlock had his
Sherlock,
palace.
Yeah. But he's done that a lot, and I always thought that was really cool. And in Dreamcatcher, the movie, which is based on the book, they show that a little bit. And that was always really interesting to me. But ultimately, like, the Dark Tower series let me understand that you can have like a nice, awesome fantasy story without like relying on swords and sorcery tropes, and it still feels like a epic adventure, but also it's at the same time, it's like such a perfect slice of like Americana, because that's all like King can write about is just American culture. So like it's just, I think in Wizard and Glass, it takes this, all these characters are in the future, and I think there's like this formal town dance, but I think they're singing like a Beatles song at some point, or I think a character is singing a Beatles song, but it's like been corrupted over time, and it's I could be totally wrong, but that's how I'm remembering it.
No, that sounds like something that would happen in this book.
I think it was Hey Jude or something like that. Anyways, super cool read, and for a series that is a lot of people, it's very polarizing because of the way it ends. But
that's what I was going to ask, because that's always my gripe with Stephen King stories is he's terrible at ending them.
Yeah, he can't end things. Yeah.
So this follows that pattern?
Yeah, it does.
Depends on who you ask. Because I have at least one friend who loves the end of the Dark Tower series.
I liked it too, but I can understand that.
It's a little wacky. I haven't read, so I'll level with you. I own and have read books 1, 2, and 3. I have not read The Wizard and the Glass, so
you can stop at Wizard and Glass.
Maybe I have, after listening to you talk about it, maybe I have to read book 4 and get back into it. But I did like hear kind of what happens in like the later books, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's why it's polarizing.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like it got rushed at the end. And he can't end books. And when he does end books, he always manages to be like, any lovable characters that survive in the end, he sometimes in the epilogue is like, and then so and so in 1985 they had a heart attack and died. Like, why do you have to tell me the character died? Like, they're fine. He was fine just ending the story. I think in Doomakey, he just.
I need you to know this.
Yeah, exactly. Doomakey, a character I really loved. He just survives to the end, and then in the epilogue, he's like, so and so died. I don't know. It's just needless.
And then he died.
That's funny. It's so funny.
Is it people don't like his endings because they're too much? They're too much. Like it's too wacky, too strange.
Just because he does a great job weaving the story and creating this, like, you get sucked into his stories. He's an amazing storyteller, very evocative, and it really pulls you along. But I just don't think he has the skill to satisfactorily end his stories. Like, he's just missing that component.
So it feels like
his repertoire.
Just feels like it's missing something.
Yeah, he just can't do it. Like, it's so not good. Like, every Stephen King story I've ever read, with the exception of his short stories, I get to the end and I'm like, God damn it! I was having a great time until now.
Yeah.
Another example. So he wrote a sequel to The Shining called Dr. Sleep, which is amazing. I love it. And they made a movie, and somehow the movie's better than the book. It's mainly because of how it ends. Because the director, who handles a lot of Stephen King adaptations really well, his name's Mike Flanagan. He also did Midnight Mass, which is really good. It's a Netflix series.
Oh, yeah, I watched that.
So he merged. So The Shining movie is way different than the book.
Yeah,
especially how it ends.
Well, if you want to see how it ended in the book, didn't the miniseries do it like in the book? And it was so stupid. Yeah, it was so dumb. It's like, this is why they didn't do it.
Yeah. And forgive me if I'm interrupting. I might be lagging a little bit. Am I lagging?
No,
not for me.
You're fine.
I don't think so.
Okay. Anyways, in Dr. Sleep, the movie, Mike Flanagan took elements of the movie adaptation of Shining and the book and blended them really well together all the way through, and it was way better, especially the ending.
Cool.
And it made the ending of Dr. Sleep, the book, seem kind of like a joke. But it's still a good book because the ride is great. The ride is what you do when you read a Stephen King.
Yeah. You just got to get off before the end. I've always kind of like eyed The Dark Tower as something I wanted to read. And then when I saw that they were doing a movie adaptation, I was like, "Oh, sweet! I can just watch the movie because that'll be cool." And then the movie I heard was terrible.
Yeah,
so
it was terrible.
Yeah, not just terrible, but also like had very little to do with the actual book series.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
and then
it's so different.
One of the main antagonists in the series was they cast oh man, I'm spacing on his name now from
yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I am also spacing on his name
from Interstellar. Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh,
as
he's
like
the
the
villain?
bad guy. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
Yeah.
Could never.
All right.
All right.
Terrible casting choice.
But yeah, that's all 5.
That's an awesome
And-
list.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you all for listening to my list of weird and wonderful books.
It was a
It
wild
was-
ride with a great
Thank you for
ending.
giving your list.
All right. I'm enjoying these book lists, you know? A little insight into each other. Evan, what does it say about Evan there?
He likes fantasy,
He likes to, he has to think about
classic sword and sorcery.
Like it's
Well,
all
I
it's
like-
all perfectly in character. I don't think I learned anything new.
Yeah.
I think it's I think one notable thing is how like personal Evan's list is, right? It's like these very kind of specific books personal to Evan's experience. You know, it's like you said, Evan, a lot of them aren't going to appear on many other lists, though, you know, Wizard and Glass probably does appear on some other lists.
I think Final Fantasy IX would.
Yeah. Well, if
Do
you
have
like
an art book?
if you liked Evan's list, Fisher, I took the exact same approach with my list. So
Nice.
Hell yeah.
get that next time.
Sweet.
All
That's
right.
cool.
That we have a few listener questions as well that we are about to get to. Evan, that was
and just for we got a bunch of listener questions, and since the last time we did one of these segments, but given that we did Evan's book list and everything, we're not gonna be able to get to all of them this time. There's especially some like in the weeds Rangers questions that we will get to in a future episode. So if we don't get to your question, don't worry. We will get to it eventually. Just for pacing of these episodes that don't go on forever, we're just going to stick to some highlights here.
Yeah, we got a lot of really good in the weeds Rangers questions, but
Yeah,
we're
they were good.
we're punting
Yeah.
all of them together into the next episode probably.
With that being said, our first question comes from Crazy Barnacles. Will the whole Earthborne Games crew be at PAX Unplugged?
Yes. Well, I'll be there. All your favorite Earthborne Games staff members will be at PAX Unplugged.
You've seen them on the podcast. Now see them in person.
That's right. Yeah, everyone will
Tired
be
after
there.
8 hours
Even-
of demoing.
yeah.
yeah. With our voices dead and like,
Yeah.
And Joe will be there. Anders, you won't be there. I wish you were there.
Yeah, I wish I could go.
Sean will be there. Chub Frog. So we'll all be meeting Chub Frog in person for the first time.
Hmm.
I love Chub Frog. I loved that episode. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Everybody go meet Chub Frog. Say hi from me.
Rob will be there. We'll be split across a couple different places because we're going to have a demo table for Hub World Eidolon that Corey will be at primarily, and then I think maybe Rob will be there. I mean, we're going to move. We'll move back and forth between the two, and then we'll have the Earthborne Games booth.
I just want to plug my friend Corey. Not this Corey who's going to be running a crokinole tournament there.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice.
That's
Oh,
cool.
cool.
So go check that out.
Can you still sign up for it, or is it all full?
I'm not sure. I have no idea. But him and I are working on a video game together right now.
Oh,
cool.
nice.
And he's doing crokinole, which is a great game. Have you guys played it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
There were quite a few people at FFG who had like
Yeah.
nice crokinole boards
Oh,
they
cool.
would bring to game nights.
Yeah. Many a lunch at FFG spent playing crokinole.
Ooh, cool game. All right, next question comes from Lewis to the color matching conversation from last episode's visit to the factory. If you stay with the same printer, is some of the color matching retained for future prints? Or is there some sort of product variance in the inks used from batch to batch that will require that type of review again and again?
So they have these along the edges of the proofs, they have these color box code things that I understood as we were sitting there that those matched up to the settings that they had on their press. Is that what you took away from that, Fisher? That's what I was understood to be happening.
Yes, so they calibrate in all of those settings, and the inks are generally mixed the same. So, and they said they save our settings somewhere, and so they'll be able to come back with all of these exact same settings and apply them to any future printing we do at the same factory. That being said, they kind of implied that there is just some variance from plate to plate too, and so they're gonna have to hand tune things like the pressure applied just because of variance in the plates and things. But my impression is that yes, a decent amount of the calibration will be kept between these prints. That being said, on our first printing in Ludo, as we were doing this very color matching process, we saw quite a bit of variance just within the same printing. So results may vary, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I took away from one of the big things I took away from the visit was just how difficult it is to fine tune all that stuff and then to make it consistent throughout. That was impressed upon us over and over again. And like Fisher said, just with our previous printing, you could see variances. But the idea is that you just gotta kind of live with the variances and then corral them enough so that they're not super impactful to your play experience.
Or print your whole game in a Pantone ink.
Yeah, that's true. If we did everything in Pantones, then we'd be safe. So if a Pantone color is just like it's a brand that has huge books full of, like, you can imagine like going to a store to pick out paint for your home, and all the paints there and all those little swatch books. Like, imagine a book that has just thousands and thousands of colors in it, of all different coatings and mixes and all sorts of things. And it's this universal standard of color that you can show a factory, hey, we want this exact Pantone color, and they'll be able to match that no matter where you are in the world.
Well, it's not just matched. It's so you buy inks.
Do you
from
buy
Pantone.
the ink from them?
So Pantone provides the ink, and then basically instead of mixing CM, Y, and K to form the color you want, instead they just load a whole separate drum, machine a whole separate plate, and then print that color in that plate entirely separately. And so you know that color is going to be the same exact every time. And so if for some reason you need an ink exactly right, you can do a Pantone. We've also used them in the past. I might have mentioned this on a different episode, but in the little Fallout Shelter game I have back down here, we did the neon green, that like iconic Fallout green. You can't actually get that color by mixing CMYK. It's just not in the color space, because when you mix down to green, as you mix inks, they get darker. And so like you mix down, that green's up here. So you actually have to order a Pantone ink where they formulate the ink, and then we actually machined a whole separate plate and printed that green on top of everything else.
Cool.
Interesting.
All right, thanks for the question. Next question is from Verge. It was highlighted in the Covenant cast with Andrew, Hubworld being a competitive game with 4 individual factions, that not having neutral factioned cards was a big plus and greatly desired. Why is that? What design or gameplay problems are you avoiding by not having neutral factioned cards?
So, do you mind if I...
Go for it.
Yeah. So, one of the balancing factors of any card in any card game is like what decks can include this card. And neutral cards turn out to be extremely difficult to balance correctly because every deck can take them by design. That's kind of the whole point. So if they're too good, then they're auto includes and everyone includes them. If a card is a little overtuned in like one particular faction, then at least it's like hard to splash into other factions, and it's like mainly a token of that faction. But if it's a neutral card, then it's either undertuned and no one uses it, or it's overtuned and everyone uses it, and that's a big problem. It's very hard to get that balance correct.
Yeah, or it's just reliable and good that it never leaves anyone's decks ever, and that just kind of makes it boring over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only real way to design them. This is actually a problem Magic has faced for many years with like their artifacts as well. And actually, for those of you who have listened or read Mark Rosewater's stuff, he talks quite a bit about this. And in their decision for where they took artifacts with Magic, they faced similar conundrums with these. But one of the ways you can design around factionless cards is design them to really specific archetypes so that they're good, but not everybody can run them. But at the point you're designing it to an archetype, its identity is really matched with the color that archetype belongs to anyway. And so then you're just diluting that identity. So there's, like, sure, you can do it. It's not like factionless cards are completely verboten space, but that is why at least we consider it a feature.
Yeah.
Marceline asks, do you have distribution plans for Hubworld Eidolon in Australia/New Zealand? Your games are great, and the distribution plans in the US, EU are great, so I don't want to miss out.
We don't have plans yet, but we got a really great order from a distributor in Australia for Earthborne Rangers. So if that does well for them, as well as they expect it to, because they ordered a lot, then hopefully they'll be interested in picking up Hubworld Eidolon as well. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great.
And also, how many copies of a card can go into a Hubworld Eidolon deck?
2. Though, 2 asterisk. There's the agents, the cards you're trying to steal. You can only include 1 of each.
Yeah.
And then all the other cards, you can have up to 2 copies.
Can I ask a follow-up question to this?
Sure,
yes.
Sir Andrew Navarro.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
I think it's interesting, this move to smaller decks. What do you think the benefit is in doing a constructed deck with only 2 ofs instead of, say, 3 or 4?
That's a good question. And when you say like a move, you just kind of mean us in many games
exactly.
recently have been kind of drifting towards that.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Do you have thoughts, Maxine? I don't know if
definitely.
I have an answer off the hip.
Yeah, it's an issue of consistency. If your deck is too big and has like an appropriate number of quantities of each card in your deck, like 60 cards and 4 copies of each card or something like that, then you might run into issues where you're seeing the same card over and over again that you don't want to see, or you're having trouble finding your combo pieces. And likewise, if the deck is too small and you have too many copies of the same card, then it's too consistent and you can too reliably get your combo pieces together and build your engine like super fast. So I've personally found that like this move towards like 30 card decks with 2 copies of each card is like kind of perfect, because you can't repeat the same events and the same like moments over and over again unless you have other cards that allow you to do that. And you're also seeing a wider breadth of your deck every time you play, so you're getting the full experience every time.
Yeah, there might be a a monetary incentive too to have 4 ofs in decks like in Pokemon and Magic, where you're going to be pursuing that last copy maybe and buying some more packs.
Yeah.
Well, I think too. I don't think Magic uses all of its 60 cards,
No.
right?
Magic is really like a 30-something card deck with a bunch of lands.
Right.
Yeah, so the lands reduce it down to a 30-something card deck. But then, yeah, like a 37 card deck or so.
Mm-hmm.
But then even on top of that, most standard games aren't going to use, unless like Mill is in standard, right? Like they're not going to use all 60 of those cards.
No.
Because the games go so fast, right? Like,
yeah.
But the whole core of the game is designed around this card count. So unless you're designing a whole new format, like some of their limited formats, you're not going to reduce that. But I think like a lot of these more modern games inspired, they are playing at a similar speed to Magic or even faster in their like per game basis, and they just kind of realize that they don't need quite as many cards as Magic, whereas Magic kind of has this legacy baggage where they can't just like tweak it on the fly, right?
Yeah. From a practical standpoint, it also means that we can include more content with each product. Because if we have a product that has 200 cards in it, and a playset is 2 copies, then you're getting a lot more different cards and unique cards than if it was a playset of 4 copies.
Right.
Yeah.
Righty, well, thanks everybody for your questions as always. And that leads us to the stuff we're into portion of our show. And I have been spending all my free time making games. I've been working on 2 now, and that's been super fun. But
when do we get to play test them on?
Yeah, that's cool.
It's getting closer. It's getting closer to that.
Okay.
Nice.
Still early stages. I'm still like learning how to code and everything, so it's slower than I think it would be for the normal game dev. But yeah, it's super fun. I love it. It's going to be cool.
What are you using to build it? Are you using like Game Maker?
Yep. Game
okay,
Maker.
Cool. Yeah.
Game Maker.
Nice. I learned a little bit of Game Maker myself too.
Oh, really? It's such a great engine.
It is
very user friendly, and ChatGPT helps me a lot with the code. I'm just like, how do you do this?
Good old Chat.
Good old Chat.
ChatGPT.
It's actually amazing how helpful that is. But anyway, speaking of Game Maker, I think they used Game Maker to make UFO 50, and that's the other game that's the game I play. If I play a game, I just really like that game. Feels
Did
like
you beat Barbuda?
I didn't beat it. I will though eventually. I like it. I think it's cool.
You didn't beat it because you actually secretly hate it.
I hated it at first, but then like something clicked and I got it. I think every game in this collection is thoughtfully designed. I don't think anything is intentionally bad. It may feel that way at first, but there are a few that feel like it could be made just to like emulate those bad games that we all played, but they all have like a little touch of like cleverness and interesting design choices.
Yeah, so Sebastian passed on Barbuda for a while, but then he got to, I think, like Mooncat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's like its sequel.
It's like its spiritual successor, and he's like, well, I have to go and beat Barbuda first now.
Oh, did he beat it?
Yeah, he did.
That's awesome.
Good for him.
It's so wild. These simple games, they get their hooks in me. You know, just I don't know what it is.
This is 50 simple games.
Yeah.
That you know you can win in just a few hours if you spend time.
True. It feels like rock and roll or something to me. Like, you know, I grew up playing games like this, and I was there. Like with rock and roll, I was not there. You know, that's like something from the past. But this feels cool, like this nostalgia for a time that I was also a part of. And it's also kind of got DNA of like the indie game movement of maybe like the last 10, 15 years, which I also love. So I don't know, there's something that kind of wraps all these loves of mine together.
Nice.
And I love the kind of the overarching like meta backstory narrative of this like team, and that aspect of the game like gets deeper and deeper as you go. There's this like terminal function where it's basically like a game genie within the game, so you can find little clues within like the descriptions of the games and type it into the terminal, and it like opens up different other like hidden mini games that reveal parts of this story and lore of this fake game company.
Neat.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That reminds me of Inscription.
Yeah, it's got a lot of that kind of feel
Oh, it's
to
so
it.
cool. I love Inscription.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, Fisher, I want join in on this talk. This
Yeah, no, I'm
topic.
curious. What's so last time we talked, you'd been really enjoying a Tactics. What's your favorite game that you've played now?
Favorite game I've played is I had a list of them all right here. I've probably only really gone deep on like 10 or 15. I've like dabbled in all of them, but maybe about 10 of them I could like confidently judge. Warp Tank was the last one I really liked. Have you played Warp Tank?
Yes, I beat Warp Tank. I really like. I that's near the top of my list. I think that one's very elegantly done.
Oh my
Write
god,
that down.
Yeah, Warp Tank rules.
Is this on Steam? Is this on like
Steam.
Switch?
I
Okay.
played
Yeah,
on
Steam
Deck.
Nice.
Have they announced console plans for it?
Not yet.
I'm sure they will because
Feels like it should be. Yeah.
They will, but it's like, the guy who made Spelunky is the main guy on this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Spelunky
Download.
took a
Spelunky's
long
great.
time. Took a long time to get to Switch, so
Mm.
I'm
Maybe a
playing
while.
it portably in a way.
Oh.
I'm
Oh.
actually so I ended up getting a retro console here.
Nice.
So
oh cool.
shout out to the Retro Game Core YouTube channel because I would not have been able to set this thing up on my own. But like, so this thing I now have.
Is it just an
loaded with,
emulator?
like, yeah, so it runs Android. I have it set up with this kind of front end here that like kind of makes it nice and console like.
That's
But
so
I have
cool.
it on the back end. Each
Wow.
of these has an emulator, an Android emulator, and then this front end like scrapes all the box art and stuff. And so you can see I have like all the box art from all these games,
Oh,
and then it
That's
launches
awesome.
it into it. So from this front end, it'll launch the emulator of that given system and play it. And so I've got this thing, and then I just run Steam Link because it's only on PC. So I run Steam Link and then I run UFO 50 on my computer and stream it to this thing.
Is it lag at all or?
A little bit. I've got a nice like a Wi-Fi 6 router. I get like a couple hiccups on occasion. Only one has really infuriated me. I was right near the end of a rail heist level,
yeah.
and then a lag caused me to like punch a guy wrong. It's like a stealth game.
Yeah.
set, like on this and
Rail Heist is
it all
cool.
went downhill.
Yeah. Have you beaten that one?
Not quite yet. I think I'm close.
Have you
Rail Heist is also, I'm very impressed by it. It has a lot of emergent design. It kind of reminds me of Gunpoint a little bit for the people who played that.
Have you cherried
to
any
your
of the
comment
games?
earlier-
Sorry.
Huh?
Have you cherried any games where you get the special win condition?
So the only two games I've cherried so far are the like that silly chameleon puzzle game.
Oh yeah, I like that one a lot.
Just because it was really easy to cherry. Just because
Camouflage.
like, yeah, I felt like I didn't feel like I was completing the levels unless I got all three collectibles. So like,
Yeah.
I just kind of cherried it on my first playthrough. But then I also cherried Avianos, which might be my
Ooh,
top game
yeah,
thus far.
I only just started playing that, but that's really cool.
It's like a condensed little 4X game where
that's cool.
you're controlling dinosaurs. in this
Nice.
weird, I think it's the future where like all humans died off and then birds evolved back into dinosaurs, and then you're playing a 4X game with them.
Nice.
Yeah, that one's
That's
awesome.
cool.
That one's
I
really
like
cool.
the
But it's
simple
very-
ones. Oh, sorry.
They very cleverly take 4X and condense it down into this very simple, like it's like a like 6x6 grid,
Mm-hmm.
but it still feels a little 4X-y in how they handle how you manage everything. It's pretty cool.
Evan, you said you like the simple games, like
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys played Magic Garden, which is like Snake, basically.
that's really great too. I love
yeah,
that one.
but it's like Snake, but they added an extra little mechanic to it, and it's very hard. Like they're all hard.
Yeah,
but I find myself continuing to play it.
Yeah, I don't think there's an easy game.
No.
I think unless you're really good at puzzle. The puzzle games are a little easy.
Yeah, the puzzle games just don't require twitch reflexes, so I can actually beat them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. It's good stuff. Do you think you'll ever try it, Andrew?
Absolutely, yeah. If I Yeah, right now it's just on PC. So
Yeah.
I got my fancy new MacBook that won't play it. I have my consoles.
It's not even on Mac. Oh,
No, it's not.
jeez.
Sadly.
How much does it cost? Is it cheap?
$20.
20
Yeah.
bucks? Yeah, I
Yeah.
might pick it up.
It's
That
why
sounds cool.
It took like
Yeah.
8 years to develop, and it's
Yeah,
$20.
Wow.
labor of love.
There's so much game in this game. There's so
Yeah.
much to get into.
Yeah, he's not charging
That's
enough for
cool.
that thing.
Yeah.
What-
Sounds like
One of the things I
$40
love
game
about
minimum.
Yeah.
one of the things I think that you'll like about it, Maxine, is like from a game design standpoint.
Mhm.
Like there's just so many ideas, right? Because there's so many different games, they can just try all these different ideas. And
Yeah.
to Andre's earlier point, they like try, while they have these old retro trappings, they like work in a lot of modern design ideas
Yeah.
into all these different games. But like because they're so simple, it's kind of like short stories where they can really like explore just like singular ideas in a very deep but like controlled way.
Mhm.
That I think is pretty cool.
I know there's
They're not all
Yeah.
gems though.
well, there's
When-
always
when
like a
you-
little hook that like gets you. Like there's this planet Zoldath. Did you play that?
I have not. That one has not clicked for me.
Well, it's just like this. It's randomly generated. An astronaut stranded on a planet, and it just goes from screen to screen, randomly generated. It feels super boring at first, but like the little like hook is just you have 2 item slots, and you find items, and they can interact with each other, and they do very different things. There's a boomerang that can go get something that's stranded out on an island around a lava pit. I don't know, but there's something. It's like stripped down to the most simple little hook that like makes me want to just play a little bit more. Like okay, what other items are here that might help me the next time I try this? But it's just like at first glance, it looks like old crap. But they know how to just like put just the right little. That's what I feel with all the games. Just like just enough of like a cool different element in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's just so smart.
Nice.
If you like simplicity with hidden depth. But Fisher, did you play Party House?
I played a little bit of Party House. Party House hasn't clicked for me yet either.
Oh.
Even though I thought like, oh, it's a deck builder, it'll be a slam dunk because it's basically Quacks of Quedlinburg, right? It's like
That's what I hear.
a deck builder that has a push your luck game as you draw stuff out, right?
Yep.
But I like one of the things I like about Quacks, for example, is the combinations that really like where you can really go off. And Party House, I didn't feel, at least in the scenario I played, I didn't feel like I was going off in like the kind of fun deck building way I really enjoy. So I've been playing Rail Heist. I'll probably go back to Party House. Like I kind of jump around a little bit. So
Yep, you're right.
This-
I agree with that. Yeah, Maxine.
maybe next time I'll tell you I've played through it all.
Okay. Were you gonna say Maxine?
I was just gonna say this episode's great because it's just like, have you played? Have you played? It's like it's all the gobbledygook to me because
Yeah.
I don't know any of these games. So it's like, have you played Sploopy Doop? And it's like, no, I love Sploopy Doop. That's great.
We're just making
it's just
making up names.
like, yeah.
Have you played Valbrace or Velgress or Vanger?
Okay.
Those are
I
all
know
real.
at least
Those
two
are
of
all
those
real
were
games.
real. I don't know about the third
No,
one.
that's a real one.
Or the first one.
Vanger,
That's a weird.
Velgress, and Valbrace. All games.
You're not a true UFO 50 fan unless you pass the test where you can
Name all 50.
accurately know what names Anders is throwing at you if they're real.
Is that a UFO 50
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
or a
Disease.
name from one of Evan's fantasy novels?
All right, enough.
Piers Anthony novel.
Yes.
All right, Maxine, what have you been playing? Doing?
So
Watching?
I've been playing a couple different things. My girlfriend and I have been playing through a new playthrough of Stardew Valley because we love playing that co-op. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. But we're playing it with like 96 mods installed.
That's a lot of mods.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of mods. It's almost too many mods because it slows the game down significantly. But it's been a lot of fun. Like some of the mods that people have made for Stardew Valley are nuts. There's mods that add entirely new towns, that add like
Wow.
tons of new people, like lots of new content. new buildings, everything that you can possibly think of.
First person mode.
I have not seen a first person mode, no. Although I imagine if it exists and in any capacity, it's been made in Minecraft. So
Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone had
Yeah, that's
made
fair.
Stardew Valley in Minecraft somehow. But yeah, so we've been playing that a lot whenever we're hanging out. And then I also recently, last night in fact, installed Dragon Age Veilguard, the new one that just came out. And I've played for maybe like 2 or 3 hours last night. It's okay. It's all right. It's not blowing my mind yet, but it's not bad. Like, I know that there's a bunch of people out there online who've been saying that it's like terrible, but I'm like, no, it's fine. It's good.
I feel like the last couple Dragon Ages have been fine.
Yeah. That's kind
It's
of where
like
I'm at.
I don't know if I'm excited anymore. It does make me interested in going back and playing Origins again, because I never quite got all the way through that, and I know that's a classic.
I do feel like some of the edge has been like filed off of the Dragon Age like IP over time, and that's something that I feel like I'm missing with Veilguard. But I like the characters a lot. I'm enjoying the plot is a little fast. It's a little fast moving. It's like I wish that there was an opening chapter to Veilguard that set things up a little better.
Yeah,
because that
was my favorite part of Inquisition, was the the reveal like 10 hours in. Oh, now you're actually playing the game. Like, oh, that's cool. You've been in the hinterlands for 15 hours, just like putzing around. Yeah,
and now it's like, all right, here's the plot.
yeah, I thought that was really cool. I liked that about that game.
Yeah, me too.
No, it's interesting how they kind of vacillate, because Origins and Awakenings were paced a little bit more like your Baldur's Gates of old, and then Dragon Age 2 was like, we're gonna be a movie. Let's take all of the it was just completely the other direction, the other side of Mass Effect.
We did Mass Effect, so we should do it like that.
And then Inquisition was like, okay, wait, no, we're going to go back to way slow. And then now it sounds like Veilguard's kind of going back to fast.
It feels more, it definitely feels more like Mass Effect. It feels, I don't know, something about the intro to the game, it's just like, all right, here's the plot, it's happening right now. Like, it's immediately, you're in the thick of it. And I get why they did that, because they want to like kind of capture your attention right off the bat and like throw you into the action, like in media res. But they keep referencing like you meeting, like Varric, for example, is in the game. They keep referencing you meeting Varric in this incident. And it's like, God, why can't I just play through that? I wish I could have played through the meeting of Varric. That would have made this so much better. Yeah. The action is fun though. The gameplay is fun.
What I hear.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that all you've done?
Well, I've also been playing Moonring, which is similar to what you were saying with UFO 50. It's like a retro game with modern sensibilities, kind of put in, but it's very much in the style of like Ultima, like very classic fantasy. It is hard. It is so difficult, but it's so easy to just pick it up, play for a little bit, die, start over, like not start over, start from your last save, and figure out what you did wrong and just keep going. It's a weird game. It's very weird. And I feel like
this looks really cool.
It's very cool. It's super cool.
I think it's free too,
and it's free. Yeah, it's completely free. So download it and play it. It's fun, but you definitely have to be in the right mindset to play it. You can't just like click through stuff. You have to really pay attention and like learn about the story and like know what you're doing. Otherwise, if you're just like moving along, like here's a ruins, I'm just gonna open this door and I'm dead. It's like, yeah, gotta pay attention to your environment and actually talk to the characters. And like the way conversations work is really cool. You type in a keyword and they'll respond to that keyword. So if you're like asking about a person, you'll type in the person's name, and you have this big journal that categorizes everything that you've learned, and you have to actually remember that stuff. Because if you don't and you're just talking to people, then they'll just be like, hi, how you doing? And you'll be like, It doesn't help.
That's cool.
You're
Yeah.
not
like a
eagerly
mud.
waiting to
Yeah.
spill the story.
Yeah,
beats
yeah.
on you.
It is like a mud. Yeah.
Yeah, that
I love it.
I tried it. That aspect of the game felt a bit too much for wherever I was at that moment. I was just like, because I was playing on Steam Deck and I had to like open up the keyboard
Yeah.
and type stuff in. But
Oh yeah, there's some nights where I just want to zone out and play something simple,
Yeah.
and Moonring is not the game to play during those nights.
looks promising. That looks really cool.
Hmm.
Alrighty. Evan, go ahead.
Yeah. Speaking of zoning out, this isn't on the list, but I was playing that game you recommended it again. Sorry. Loop Hero. 'Cause that's a
Oh,
game where
nice.
you can just zone out and just enjoy it, enjoy the music,
Absolutely.
enjoy the graphics, and make
Mhm.
minimal decisions.
Oh, the music is so good.
I
in that
know
game.
the music. I
Ugh.
love
Yeah.
the music.
But other than that, I've been playing. I picked up Echoes of Wisdom, that new Zelda game, for the Switch, and I've been playing it in the morning before everyone wakes up, and it's pretty fun. It's hard for me and easy at the same time. Like the game holds your hand with a lot of things, and it's really hard to be punished by screwing up. But at the same time, there's so many you're not playing as Link, swinging his sword around and throwing bombs. You're playing as Zelda, and you have like this cool scepter that you can copy. You can make images or copies of things. I think they're called echoes of objects, and you use them as
Mhm.
tools. And you can only have a certain amount based on the level your little friendly ghost helper is at. And so it's a cool puzzle game, but at the same time, I have to completely like rewire my brain for playing it, because I'm like, have to remember that I can't just hit things. And what I've been doing is just throwing. I have an echo of a rock, so I've been throwing rocks at things. But you just can't win. You can't get past the game by throwing rocks. So you have to stack. You have to stack the right sized objects to make stairs, and you have to trigger things by using different echoes. Echoes are like every time you defeat a monster for the first time, you can get an echo of it, and then they become like a temporary ally that helps you. They function in a very specific way, and so I feel like my brain is concrete and not plastic when I'm playing that game. I'm just like,
yeah.
well, maybe that's just getting old. That's just what getting old feels like, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have one very specific complaint about that game, Evan, which is that they let you make echoes of every single object in this entire game. So you can imagine it's a long list.
Yeah.
And then the UI to interact with them is a line.
It's Yep.
Oh
You have
no.
to
Sucks.
click through a line of every object you've ever scanned, and you can reorder it. But like, they've got the big old Switch screen. You have a D-pad. They could have just done a grid of all the objects,
Yeah.
or like sorted by like categories or something. But no,
Oh, that's
no, you have
awful.
to just. Oh,
Yeah, there's
That's
like
awful.
So
Breath
frustrating.
of the Wild style. Why not?
Ugh. I mean, true, but in Breath of the Wild, you're scrolling for like a little bit,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
8 weapons.
Mhm.
Can you do like a hotkey, like my favorites? Like, can you tag things as favorites or anything? Nothing.
I haven't really
one of the
explored
sorts is recent. That's like the best I got.
Yeah. The most recent things are filed to the front of your list, which isn't super helpful all the time. But and there's so many echoes, and you're like, what's going to work in this scenario? I guess a number of things could, and I just
Right.
Rock.
Default to rock.
Yeah. Maybe that's their way. Maybe that's
Good
their way
old
of
rock.
saying it doesn't matter that much. Like, follow your heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do what you
Yeah.
want.
And that's
Throw
why
whatever you
But
want.
the game,
I've been
the game
avoiding
keeps
the-
throwing paper.
I think for that reason I've been avoiding the previous Zelda release, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, because I heard you all talking about it and how you can just do anything, I guess.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, I don't want to play a game where I can do anything. Like, I need some parameters.
It's so satisfying though when you build a device that does exactly what you wanted it to do, and you're like, oh my god, I'm a genius.
All right, and that brings us to wait, Fisher. Did you have one other thing you wanted to?
No, we talked about UFO 50 already. That's
Okay.
my thing.
Nice. All right, Andrew Navarro. I'm really excited based on what you wrote in the doc.
Yeah. So I've not really been playing anything. I keep scrolling through games, wanting to be inspired to play something, but I'm not really into anything right now. But Rachel's out of town this week, so it's just the boys and me. So as part of that, I put together a curated list of films for us to watch, and they're all Arnold Schwarzenegger action movies.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
This is like the most stereotypical moms out of town.
Yes. It's perfect because, like Sebastian's 17, Sam is going to be 14 soon, like this is the age when I was very, very, very much into Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. And I thought they were the coolest thing ever. And I think I've talked before, I'm very strict about what media I let my kids consume. So there's a standard there. But I felt like it was the right time to introduce this particular part of American culture and introduce them to the 80s action hero through Arnold Schwarzenegger. So yeah, we have 5 movies because Rachel's gone for 8 nights, and so we have 5 movies, 5 nights, and then it's football the other 3 nights. So it's a very, very manly week. So we started with, and we're doing chronological order. We started with Conan the Barbarian.
All right.
So we watched that. That was that movie is hilarious. Look up Conan's first lines in that film. It's fantastic. There's very, very little dialogue, but the first words out of his mouth are just awesome. And that movie is great.
Classic.
And then we watched after that we watched The Terminator. Also classic. And that movie is, man, it's a very good movie. It's very, very tightly done, and it's you can tell they have a pretty limited budget, but they really make the most of it. And I think I've watched that film less than I've watched Terminator 2.
Wow.
And there were 8 years in between those 2 movies. And by the time they got to Terminator 2, yeah, they had a budget. It was a very, very different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's great. It's got just a small cast of characters, and yeah, it's awesome. And then last night we watched Predator.
Nice.
Sweet.
That is
my favorite there. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's so good. Yeah. And then we'll be rounding it out tomorrow night. We're going to watch the jewel of this list, which is Total Recall.
I was about to say, I hope Total Recall's on this list.
And then we're gonna I'm sorry, what, Fisher?
I was gonna joke Kindergarten Cop.
No, it's all action. All action. Yeah, no, we're not doing Schwarzenegger Comedy Week. We're doing Schwarzenegger Action Week. And then we're gonna end it with what I think marks the end of Schwarzenegger's career as a legitimate action hero, and that is True Lies.
I was going to say,
I think the last. No. That's on the downslope, Evan. Yeah, you don't need to watch any of those. But I think the last good one was True Lies.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I haven't seen True Lies.
Oh man, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I'll need to watch
True
it.
Lies is great.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a PG-13 film. It's not R-rated. So it's when action movies started to go into this other realm of bloodless violence. But that movie's really fun. But I think that's the last Schwarzenegger movie that I liked in the theater. Everything after that stunk. So anyway, so five Schwarzenegger films this week. So far, it's been really, really fun watching it with those guys, and really looking forward to Total Recall.
I
was gonna say Total Recalls.
Yeah, top notch.
I watched a retrospective review of Last Action Hero, which I thought was terrible.
Yes.
But
I agree with you.
The person who reviewed it really like revealed some, I don't know, fourth wall breaking meta stuff in it that I thought was interesting, and it made me feel like I should give it another try. But
I watched that movie in the theater, and I've not watched it since.
So yeah,
I
Same.
despised it. I was so grumpy coming out. And it's like I was talking to Joe about this earlier this week because I was telling him about the Schwarzenegger movie week, and like Joe and I, we used to go to the movie theater together all the time. If the me from then, when I would go to the movies every weekend, if that me did not like a movie, you know it's bad. Last Action Hero was a cool concept. It was just totally mismanaged, completely done poorly. I don't know. I could probably watch it again to get into the weeds of why I didn't like it, but I'd rather watch Total Recall.
Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. When are you going to watch T2? That's got to come after.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought about putting T2 on there, but like I feel I told him I think artistically the Terminator is a better film than T2. T2 is a better like popcorn blockbuster.
Right.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
When I
Yeah.
think Schwarzenegger, I think T2. That's the first thing I think of.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Let's end with what's your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger quote? Andrew.
Oh, they've been loving hearing all these quotes too. Like,
Oh man,
I'll be back. Get to the chopper. They're very excited when they hear them. Like, oh, I know that.
I just like when he meets up with the dude in Predator. He's like, Dylan.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's so good. I don't know why.
Mine is from
No,
Total
I think-
Recall, but I can't think of it. I mean, there's tons from Total Recall, and they're all great.
Yeah, there are some good ones. Like, consider that a divorce. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah. I know he like
No.
he like kills a crocodile or something. Your luggage.
Oh god. Remember, Sully, when I said I'd kill you last? I lied.
That's from what's that from? Commando?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor. It's
not a tumor.
Alrighty. All right, if that about does it, that's a great wrap up on the show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Reach out and do all the stuff. Anybody want to plug something?
Come see us at PAX.
Yeah.
Everybody who's at
Yeah.
PAX, you got to come by the booth and say hi.
Is that going to happen before the next episode? No.
We'll have one more before PAX.
We'll have one more episode, but just as you're making your plans,
Get ready.
we'll be posting like our exact booth location and stuff as the map becomes public and everything in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching or listening, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.